Well, maybe I'll keep the window open.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. I don't have to be.
Are we live?
Oh, we're live? Oh, fuck.
Welcome back,
I thought
everybody.
he was running an intro.
Yeah. Did you run the intro? Oh. The intro?
Oh,
that's right. So there's kind of a couple introductions here.
yeah, it's your show.
Okay. So, hey, welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt. Thank you for joining us on this awesome Wednesday afternoon. Thank you for hanging tight. For those of you that may have been hanging tight, if not, oh well, catch it on the replay. But this is episode 263 of Behind the ToolBelt. Stay tuned for our, what do we call them? Our intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Hey everyone, I'm here at the Irving Convention Center where we're kicking off SRC 2025, February 4th through 6th, so mark your calendar. SRC Summit's right around the corner, so make sure to go ahead and secure your tickets. You definitely don't want to miss this year with over 40 industry experts, speakers, a full vendor trade show, and plenty of networking opportunities. You're sure to set yourself up for success in 2025 and beyond. I look forward to seeing you there.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Ty Cobb Backer sits down with game changers, trailblazers, and industry leaders who aren't afraid to tell it like it is. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Ty Cobb Backer.
Look that good.
Yeah.
And we're back. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for tuning in for episode 264.
That's what it said.
That's what it said.
Yeah.
Yeah. 264 Behind the ToolBelt. Live from Cayman.
Live from Grand Cayman.
Grand Cayman Island.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
a mouthful.
It is.
Cayman.
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 They call it Cayman if you live here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They know you're a tourist if you say Cayman.
Okay.
That's what I found
That
out
makes
recently.
sense. That makes sense. So I got a funny story. So
I'll be the judge of that.
I do. Well, there's this small town in Delaware. It's on the bay, and it's called Lewis.
Lewis.
Yes. Now it's called Lewis.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, I lived there with that 50-year-old lady. I told you about the story. George reminded me of the story when I was on your podcast when I was 17. She was 35.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I lived there with her
Okay.
on this bay. It was the Delaware Bay. And back then, if you were local, you called it Lewes.
Lose.
Lewes. Lewes. Lewes.
Oh.
Okay. Well, years later, we go back. I get my shit together, and Jen and I got a camper down there, and we get down there, and everybody's calling it Lewis. Lewis, Lewis, Lewis. Even the radio commercial TV ads were like Lewis, Lewis, Lewis. And even when she was a kid, like this is the place where everybody goes to vacation. It's about 3 hours away from where we are.
Okay.
And it's funny how things change where like all the tourists took over this area, moved there because every national builder in the country is there building houses. But now everybody calls it Lewis.
Weird.
But it's actually pronounced Lewis.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I understand that because not that I was local, but I have lived there. I have a second home there.
If you lived there, you were local.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
So I was local and we called it Lewis, Delaware.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day I'll go check out Lou's.
Yeah. It's cool.
And I'll walk in and I'll start making fun of people. I'll be like, do you fucking know that it's not Lewis, asshole? Like, are you from here?
I know.
Yeah. Can't you tell with my accent that I am?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you not read?
Yeah. Jesus. Go back to school.
No.
Did you go to school in Lewis?
Yeah. Right. There's no I.
Now, clearly.
Right.
Fuck.
Right. So
Okay. So where are we? We're in Grand Cayman.
yeah. So we're in Grand Cayman. So I do have a question for you.
Oh,
So
let's go.
yeah. So we're attending. You are the retreat master. I'm going to consider you
Oh.
the retreat master.
Never been called that before.
Yeah,
I like
so
that.
you
I
are
like
now.
that title.
So you didn't have to self-proclaim it. Somebody
Thank
else
you.
did it for
Thank
you.
you. Oh, so I didn't have to give myself a nickname like
Yeah.
a bunch of other fucking assholes.
Exactly.
All right, cool.
So you're the retreat master of Exhale 2.0.
Exhale.
Exhale.
Yep.
Yep. 2.0.
Yep.
2025. Why? Like I've heard you say because you love to dive, but why did you want to start a retreat?
It's a great question, Ty. And I do have an answer. I've thought about it a lot. I have participated and been a member of a number of different masterminds, let's call them groups, whatever it is, over the last course of, I don't know what, 5-7 years, something like that. And I got something from every single one of them, right? I learned something. I participated. I got outside of myself. I got super fucking uncomfortable, doing things that I never thought that I'd do before. And they started to grow very large. And I started losing the connection that I had made with people in the group. And it became a little bit impersonal. Now, that being said, like all these groups that I'm a part of are still amazing groups. And like, I still recommend them to people, and like they break off into smaller groups and whatever. But I had this memory of the first retreat that I ever went to, which was at a circle event with Sam Taggart. And he had, the circle's less than a year old, I think. And I think it was 16 of us, and I'm sure somebody will correct me, but it was around that. It was like 15 to 18 dudes. And we all went to Mexico and we did a bunch of crazy ass shit, which is stories for another day. But I ended up staying and becoming really good friends and made some really amazing connections in that small, intimate setting. Right. And so as I felt like I was phasing out of these other groups, I was like, man, when was I the happiest when I was part of something like this? And I was like, when it was smaller, when it was intimate. And I was like, well, if I did something like that, what if I did it and then I got to pick what we do? Oh, well, I love to scuba dive. That'd be a really cool thing to share with people that maybe haven't done it before, or bring experienced divers on so that we can all relax and go dive and have a good time. But then when I did the little play on words and called it the underwater unmastermind, was because I didn't want it to be people showing up and thinking that we were going to be sitting in a room with a whiteboard all day with content, right? There's a time and a place for content. And we've had Dr. Gary, who's going to come on here in a little bit. Like I've brought somebody in to like talk to us about breathing and exhaling and like slowing down our heart rate and checking our HRV and all these different things that he's teaching. But it's like 2 hours of the day, right? In the morning, max. And then it's diving, hanging out, talking, getting to know each other and forming some real connections, right? Which, not to plug, but is the basis of my book that's coming out that's called Shut the Fuck Up and Listen More. And it's how to build better connections with the people around you. And so I really wanted to see if I could pull off facilitating an event like this. And so last year was the first annual Exhale retreat, which thank you, William Rankin, for helping me come up with a name for that. And I want to keep doing it. If people still want to go, I'm going to keep doing it. I told everybody when we started that night, I don't do this for money. I do not make a bunch of money on these things. I barely do better than break even most of the time on these, but I thoroughly enjoy being here and watching. It's like being a dad, because you watch the fucking room, you watch everybody else get to interact. And yeah, I jump in and I do stuff and I talk and whatever, but I get to watch everybody else grow and learn and learn from the other people that are here. And it's a great addition to the cult culture movement, which you're a part of, and just an opportunity for us to get outside of that. And so that's the real reason, is that I equated this to, as an alcoholic, trying to find that first high again.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes sense.
And I wanted to find that moment in time, right, which I never will, but I tried to recreate it the best that I could to try and recreate what it felt like to have that smaller, more intimate group of men together to be able to grow and learn together.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard bits and pieces of that, but I just wanted everybody else to hear why. And I know sometimes you're sarcastic and you say stuff like, it's because I like to dive.
Yeah.
But
and that's fair. That is part of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right. And that's cool too. Yeah. And the other night you said that you don't do this as a business.
Right.
You're not in it for the money. And we know that. That's why you could probably have had 23 to 30 people here easily, I'm sure. And the cool thing that I like about it is that it is like 9 or 12 of us, whatever it is. Not 9 of us this year, I think.
Yeah. 10 with me.
10. Yeah. And that's what I really like about it, and the intimacy of it and the connections that you make, like Mike Goldstein, who'll come on shortly here, but
is it Goldenstein, isn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Goldenstein.
Just making sure. Yeah. I just thought
I never say anything right.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, so
he's in the room, so I just thought I'd make it embarrassing and a little awkward since he was here.
Well, I don't even know what episode this is. So.
Yeah, I know. It's 274.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. I know we're coming up on our 5th year anniversary. So, but no, and what selfishly, myself personally, like, I like to come to something like this, especially when you're involved, because I have to travel. Like I've said this a couple of times since I've been here, like I have to travel usually halfway around the country to be around people like you that motivate me, that push me to be a better human being, a better entrepreneur, better father, just really pushing me outside of my comfort zone. The whole diving experience is just a totally different level of uncomfortability. I mean, there's nothing really comfortable about it on your first couple dives.
Right.
Okay. But once you get through that, it's just like anything else before, there's always pain before growth. And for me, it was very painful. I played a lot of head games with myself on why I didn't want to come here. And you had to listen to a lot of that. Like, I'm coming, I'm not coming, I'm coming, with every excuse in the world. And we'll probably laugh about that for years to come, but I made it, came back, and I saw that you're bringing other newbies into the fold as well, and pushing them. And like you mentioned earlier, you're kind of like dad, and I think the one little piece that you left out is like watching people grow. Yeah. Like you're like, the retreat master, and, but you, in all seriousness, it's pretty rad, to be a part of this for the 2nd year. I'll keep coming back until you tell me I can't come back, only because of each dive is different. There was the one dive, I don't know, yesterday. It's like the 2nd dive that we took. I jumped in, mask filled with water, couldn't get my ears stabilized. It was off. It started out wonky.
Yeah.
And I realized that I was the problem. It wasn't that there was something wrong with the equipment, not that the conditions were perfect, that I needed to just stop being a part of the problem. So lifted my mask up, did my thing, cleared it out, swam back up a little bit, let my ears pop, come back down. And for me, especially diving and golfing, there's a lot of life lessons learned on the golf course.
Yeah.
Okay. Same with diving. There's so many different things that you could apply to your life, like get out of the way, stupid, stop being the problem, just take a breath.
Take a breath, and thriving in chaos, because
yeah,
I always equate it to like if you watch like any old military movies, or if you've ever done any I did a like a SEAL training thing for half a day in San Diego, and the big thing that they were trying to teach you was how to eliminate the outside noise so that you can actually focus on the thing that you're doing right now, because none of this matters.
Mm-hmm.
What matters is what you have to accomplish right now, right? And the example that you just gave is fucking perfect, because I jumped in, my mask flooded, something was fucking with me, my ears were screwed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just stop,
mm-hmm.
if you just stop and breathe and go, okay, step 1, equalize. Step 2, take off my mask, clear it, put it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you just step by step do it. All of a sudden you're like,
yeah,
and I'm back.
Yeah.
Right. And was that the feeling?
Dives. Yeah, it was one of the best dives.
Right.
But
you just had to get through
I
that.
was so quick to like, okay, I'm not doing it.
Right.
I'm done. You know what I mean? But then it was like,
that's your first immediate, because your heart
yeah.
starts fucking racing,
yes.
right? Because you're underwater.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So like when I jumped in today, I've got a thing on my second stage
mm-hmm.
that for some reason when I jump in once in a while, it fucking goes
mm-hmm.
and air just starts blowing out of it. And so I've learned, like, I have to fucking beat on it on my shoulder, or I literally unplug it
mm-hmm.
and then I'll plug it back in while I'm underwater. But if you notice, like, I don't put all my gear on and then like do the giant, like I grab my fins and
mm-hmm.
I jump in and I'm putting my fins on like as I'm going down. But then this thing's fucking going,
mm-hmm.
and it hasn't happened the whole time we've been here.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened today on the second dive, but I've seen it so many times now.
Mm-hmm.
I just know, and I know to expect it. And so it doesn't freak me out
mm-hmm.
when it does happen. Right.
Yes.
And so the more you do anything
mm-hmm.
in life, whether it's in business and life and work, whatever, the more you do something and you don't overreact to the situation, you're able to thrive inside of that chaos. And everybody sees you as the calm force.
Yes.
Right. When everybody else is doing this and you're like, no, this is the way we go.
Yep.
This is what we do. Like, we're fine. Right.
Yeah.
Like that's what's cool.
And I can honestly say this, and I'm not just sitting here stroking you, but since last year, there's been some things that have popped up, not in personal stuff, but in business, that I feel like I've actually been able to deal with better.
Sure.
Or dealt with it in a good way. Okay, than I probably would have prior to coming to this. And I'm going to say it was because of the trip last year and putting myself under so much emotional turmoil
mm-hmm.
and trying to figure it out on my own, because it's not going to be a good idea too. I think it's a good idea. But, and I'm just going to use this. I'm going to tell you what one thing that came up is so we had a sales manager down at one of our locations, and we found out that they were washing checks. Okay. And one of my, he's actually the vice president of the Southeast division, and he was fired up. Right. And he was like, I want to kill this dude. We're going to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And Kim came over and his wife was there. They just happened to be up at our office for training. So we were all in the same room, and this gentleman happened to be there too. They were all up there. And Sam was doing the invoicing, and the homeowner reached out and said, hey, I already paid the deposit. And she actually sent us the copy of the check that she sent. She must have took a screenshot of it for whatever reason, and then sent us a copy of the check that got returned to the bank after it cleared. It had his name on it. And everybody, Kim was tripping out. I think she was tripping because she thought I was going to be tripping.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've worked with her for 11 years. So she knows.
She knows. Yeah.
Right. Like, I think she was waiting for me to go out there because he was sitting out in the conference room.
Yeah.
And,
I'm excited to hear how this
but
goes.
I was like the quiet, during the storm. I was like, look, this is what we're going to do. He's basically gonna have to get off our property. I don't care how he gets home. He has all of his equipment here because he brought it with him. I was like, just simply, he's got to go. And as things come up, we'll deal with it.
Yep.
You know, and Mike was fine. And I didn't fall into the chaos either. Like I didn't let it. I just thought, you know what, there could be a lot worse things that happened.
There could always be a lot
and when they
worse
come
things.
up, if there are jobs that he's taken deposits from or final payments, we're just gonna have to take it on the chin.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. And if this is the worst thing that happens to us, we're probably doing pretty good, because considering the fact of how many years we've been in business, I've never had anything like that happen.
No.
Where somebody stole from me.
Yeah.
Like that. Now, in other ways, I've had people time steal
Sure.
and things like that. But
That's
I've
a
never,
unique one, though.
Yeah, I've never had anybody wash.
I've heard of it, but I've never heard of a friend have it happen.
How I don't know, but it was perfect.
Wow.
It wasn't like he made a copy of the check.
Right.
It was the check with their name taken off and his name put in their place.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, but I really feel like it's helped me deal with other things, because it's almost like if you can get through the diving exercises and the training that they give you, literally, if you can get through that, there's not much.
Training is more stressful than the diving.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And last year, 3/4 of our diving was just training.
Yeah.
And I think we got to do 1 or 2 normal dives with everybody else. But up until then, I think I even suffered from PTSD, because I thought, I'm waiting for, like, why am I going to have to take my mask off? Why am I going to have to take my tank off down here? All these things that are going through my head. Like, I'm running it, all these scenarios through my head. Well, if I get wrapped up or tangled up over there, like, I'm looking at shit, like trying to stay away from stuff so I don't have to take off but no, this is good. This is a great exercise. And really, calling it a retreat is underselling it, because none of us are retreating here. That's just my opinion. We're not relaxing, and like, we're getting so much out of this. Like, we're not just hanging out at the house all day or sitting in the classroom. Literally, I don't know if you wear an Apple Watch or not, but because of the dives.
No, they're too distracting.
Okay. They are. But because of the dives, I've closed all of my rings like 3 times.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, like literally. I wish I could do that at home as quickly as I did it here, just with a couple of the dives.
You can eat like a fucking pig too. And
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, because like, we're burning so many calories and your body temperature gets lower because you're in the water.
Yeah.
You don't think about that.
No.
But like, the water's 80
Mhm.
and you're 98.
Yeah.
So like, your body temp is dropping.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we need to warm up now, because we're going cold as fuck going and doing this night dive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for the heads up.
You're welcome. Yeah. Just be ready.
I will.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to. So, yeah. So thank you for,
yeah, man.
Bringing in the people too. So we did some yoga. I never did yoga, which was cool. I was kind of sad that we didn't do it this morning.
He'll be back
really
tomorrow.
Like, seriously,
He'll be
like,
back
I was
tomorrow.
kind of
Back
bummed that
tomorrow.
we didn't do it this morning, because I never thought of it, but I could actually, like he had mentioned, like, I could feel everything stretching from like my heels to the back of my neck.
Did you notice that you were better from the beginning to the end, and how much more you could move at the end?
Heck yes. Even the second day, I was way better than I was the first
Isn't that
day.
crazy?
Yeah.
And you think about it, and it's like, we go do things like this, right? We do it for 3 or 4 days, and then we go back to our old world, and we go back to the same bullshit that we fucking did before, and we don't make any changes. And it's like, man, if I did yoga every day or 5 days a week, you know how much more flexible I'd be, and my spine would be in better alignment, and I'd be fucking, you know what I mean? Like, we talk all this shit and say all the right things, and then we go right back to doing the same shit we did before.
Yeah.
Right?
Completely.
Like, I want to integrate that into a part of my life more,
Yeah,
right?
completely.
Because it's only going to help me in the other things that I do at the gym and playing with my kid, and just, you know what I mean? Like, everything.
Well, who doesn't want to be limber at age 80 someday? And really, that
I just wanna be
ultimately,
alive.
that's up to us,
Right?
If we still want to be swinging golf clubs and able
And
to
diving.
because
This is one thing you can do I've seen some crippled ass motherfuckers getting off of a boat, like for real, because once you're in the water, you're weightless.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So the hardest part is getting in and getting out. People help you with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you can do this as long as you can play. I mean, you could probably do this longer than you could play golf.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it just, and not to throw Vic under the bus, but
throw him under.
Well, Vic, for whatever reason, hasn't had the opportunity to learn how to swim. Okay. So he's, whether I never got real deep with him about it. I don't know if there was a situation why, And there probably is why he doesn't like to swim. But even for somebody like him that isn't a very good swimmer could do this, because I'm not a very good swimmer.
So you technically you could, but you couldn't pass a test.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Right.
Yeah.
You technically could, but you couldn't pass the test.
Mhm.
So you haven't asked him. He's sitting right here, so this will be awkward.
Yeah.
But you haven't asked him about it. You haven't went deep on it.
No.
But yet that also means that you haven't made fun of him for it.
No.
Because I would fucking just make fun of him
Mhm.
until he's like, look, there's a story. My
Well,
sister drowned,
yeah.
and like I don't fucking like swimming.
Well, you know, I know at some point in time, Vic, the more I yell at Vic, it doesn't.
the less he
help.
listens.
Yeah, it doesn't help. So
But even like bullying, like
no, like
really?
I've made him feel like the biggest piece of shit in the world.
or you thought you did.
It lasts for like 3 days. Like if I ride his ass, like, dude, you got to go to meetings or whatever the case
Yeah.
might be. It works for about 3 days. The best is attraction rather than promotion. I have to lead by example. If I'm doing these things, eventually he comes around to it. And because it's never a good idea until
so
we
he's
think
like a
it's good.
wife.
He's like a wife. He is like a second wife.
Because that's basically how we get our wives to do anything.
Yeah.
Is like do
Yeah.
it long enough.
He-
They're like, well,
he'll
I
come-
want to do stuff with you.
He
Well,
comes
fucking
around-
learn how to do fun shit then,
Well-
and quit being a goddamn buzzkill, Vic. I mean, wife. I
Yeah.
mean, fuck.
Well, I mean, he does come, but I know him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I know he feels it. Like when he missed, not Starfish City, it's Stingray City.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other morning, I knew he
Yeah.
was going to beat himself up.
And that was the one too that you should
Yeah.
have been on. But yeah.
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 Like I knew I didn't have to say anything to him.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
knew it. Now, don't think for 1 minute I won't bust his ass.
Okay, good.
I do bust his
Okay.
ass.
Balls will be busted.
Yes,
Okay,
totally.
all right.
I do, but I also know when to stop.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
the message. I know when he hears the message. So
Here's what we'll be doing different next year.
okay,
I have decided that there is going to be an application process.
okay,
Certain people, like returning
hmm
members,
Yeah.
might not have to. But like I am going to be very intentional, and I think I'm gonna break it up into there's going to be 2 different trips,
hmm
and one is going to be for a certain group, whether
Mhm.
it's experience or it's just like
Yeah.
the people, whatever. And then there's gonna be another one for people that need a lot more help.
Yeah.
Right. Because like I don't want to I don't ever want to exclude
hmm
anyone,
Yeah.
but the groups need to be symbiotic,
hmm
right?
hmm
And the first group is always special whenever it's a first group,
Yep.
right? Like that was super special. But everyone's special, right? Like this one is unique in its own way, right? Like with the personalities and all the stuff that we have here this time. But I am going to, I think for, whether it's late 25 or 26 when we
Mhm.
do the third one,
Yeah.
I'm going to do some type of like application process to vet. And not that nobody here would have made the cut. Like
Mhm.
that's not why I'm saying that.
Yeah.
It's just I want to as this continues and grows,
Mhm.
there's always going to be a cap to it,
Yeah.
which means some people are going to be left out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I'm going to feel bad about that.
Are you
But-
warning me that I'll be left out?
Yeah, I wanted to do it live on air.
Fuck
But not direct.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to be very passive aggressive
Yeah.
in my delivery of
Mhm.
it, just to make sure,
Yeah.
similar to how Mike would deliver it.
Yeah.
That kind of news to
Yeah.
you. But no, I think that honors what we're trying to do.
Mhm.
Right. I
Yeah.
think that honors what we're trying to do because the diving is amazing, but I truly think that by having multiple nights and it not being just a 1 night, 2 night deal, right?
Mhm.
Like we're here for 4 days
Yeah.
of diving.
Yep.
So 5 nights, 4 days, right?
Yep.
Every night you get a different opportunity to organically connect and have conversations with people, right?
Mhm.
I don't go out and hold people's hands and be like, you have to do this, right?
Yeah.
If you choose not to participate, well, you spent the money,
Yeah.
right? You got the responsibility to get whatever you're going to get out of this. And if you also don't participate, you won't be coming back.
Mhm.
Like you're not going to be asked to come back if you don't participate in
Yeah.
what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Like that's obvious.
Yeah.
But nobody's done that,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody's like, I'm here for a reason, and
Yeah.
I want to get to know people better. And there were people on this trip that I knew. I mean, it's my fucking trip. Like I know them, but I didn't really know them, and I gotten opportunities to sit down and dig a little bit deeper for an hour or two or whatever. And I think that's the stuff that that's the stuff that we're missing, right? Is having those sit down conversations and really getting to know each other. I think it's the reason both of us do this shit, right? Because we get to sit down and have conversations with people, and I don't know. I think it's powerful, and like I said, I appreciate you saying that you'll keep coming back as long as I let you. I'm going to keep having them as long as anybody gives a fuck to be here.
Yeah.
Right. And if they don't, then maybe it'll just be me and you.
Yep.
And I'm cool with that too.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
If everybody says fuck off,
yeah,
I don't want to hang out with Eric, I'll be like, that's cool.
Well, and let's talk about George and Big Kev and Primo. Or two, the team that you got, or wherever they came from, right? Like
very, very, very fortunate.
Yeah. You know,
I mean, George is my brother-in-law. So obviously, you know, that's an easy play there, you know, to get him to ask. But the people that he surrounds himself with, right? With Frazier. I mean, for instance, so Frazier came down here, and George and Frazier worked together 25 years ago.
Wow.
For 12 years on the East Side. And stayed friends forever. Frazier does not live here. Frazier lives in Florida now. And comes down often, but doesn't fucking live here. This is not what he does for a living. And he sees what we're doing online and like thinks it's cool. And George is like, hey man, like Eric's doing this again. Would you be interested in coming down and helping facilitate? And literally, and he just looked at George and was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. Like, fuck, man. Like I can't even thank him enough, right? Like money doesn't thank somebody for that. Right. Like genuine gratitude. And the guys on the boat and Ernie, the chef, like I think we all can agree that we've all put ourselves in some places in our life that we probably don't deserve. But to have the people around me that I have in moments like this that I know I can count on all the time. And I know that, you know, if somebody is here at this event and doesn't either A, enjoy it, or B, doesn't get anything out of it, I can feel good knowing that that's on them.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
Now, that being said, I still put it all on me. Right. And I still sit there at night going, fuck, I hope that, you know what I mean? Because I worry about,
of course,
what everybody's experiencing, right? Especially when you pay to, you know, do something.
But
at the end of the day, I feel good because I know that we have amazing people here. And if somebody doesn't get something from it, that it can't be on me. I think we've put the pieces in place that we needed to. But yeah, man, I could do this shit forever. Like I would love it if this could be my job. Right. Like I said in the beginning, this is not my business. It's not how I make money. Would be really cool if I could, but it's not.
No, it's good. No, it's good. And so Vic, why don't you get Dr. Gary?
Get Gary. And so everybody knows we brought Gary in because I wanted to have somebody smarter than me teach everybody how to change their state and become calm and solve problems in that. And he came in with so much science and shit I can't even explain, that it'll be great to have him come join you, and then I can go shower and shit.
All
right. Thanks,
Mike,
guys.
why don't you swing in here too? We got Mike Goldenstein. Stein.
Like a stein of beer.
Yeah. Why don't you come on in here? Everybody, Dr. Gary.
Hi.
Yeah. I'm not sure what your last name is.
Montemayor, but Dr. Gary's fine. That's what I go by.
We'll keep it at Dr. Gary. Mike?
Hey, I'm Mike.
Goldenstein.
Goldenstein.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we don't have any more mics. Okay. So, Dr. Gary, why don't you explain to us what it is that you do for a living, and then we'll get into what you've been able to do for us here.
Sure. I'm a doctor of natural medicine. I hold a PhD and doctorate in natural medicine, and I do. I work in the world of quantum medicine, which is looking at consciousness or disease from a subatomic perspective, small particles and how they work, thoughts, beliefs, things like that. So what I was doing here is leading participants in neurofeedback meditation. Let them hear their brain waves, let them see their brain waves, let them feel their brain waves. It's good because we can talk about the woo-woo in the context of science, and that really makes it come down to guys like us. You know, we want to know the science behind it.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, we've shared heart math, which is heart brain coherence, and being able to paint pictures on the wall. Other things we've done are like measuring our biological age, doing breathing and watch it decrease. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of things with our participants here, you know, teaching them a little bit about quantum medicine.
Yeah. For me, I've never got to experience, I've watched, TV and stuff, and I see things, I read things too, but I've never sat in on the things that you were doing. Like, I don't even know the word for half of that stuff that you were doing, but I guess, Mike, what was your take on it?
Yeah. So I had a couple different abilities to go in there and just being able to kind of slow yourself, try to figure out, kind of how do we deal with stress internally? So mine, it was interesting to say, it was first and foremost fun to have Eric behind me take a picture of the screen and send to Reggie Brock just to prove that I actually had a brain and it has waves to it. So that was a win number one. My experience though, and I asked a couple questions afterwards because I feel like I do have a pretty even keel personality. Like I'm kind of in this home mode, but what I was having an issue doing was relaxing to the point where the stresses didn't keep coming up. And so I think it just kind of kept me at this level. Yeah, I don't get real high, but I couldn't get very low either in relaxation because, and I was asking you that. So what keeps you from really, truly relaxing? Because all of the things that are on my mind that I know I'm not doing right now, I got to get home and finish them, and the stresses and work and family and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't go away for me. So as somebody is trying to work on their ability to slow down, how does somebody work on that part of it?
I call it training the puppy. Our monkey mind is like a puppy. You ask it to sit and it may go over there, sit for a second, but it's going to come back and start sniffing your feet and wants to play. This is your conscious mind. It wants to protect you in a way. It says you need to be thinking about this. You need to accomplish this. You're expecting a phone call. You have deadlines, and it's going to keep coming back. And as such, you have to train it to stop, and eventually it will. And that's what meditation does. That's what biofeedback meditation does. You eventually teach it how to be able to go sit and be quiet. It takes 21 days to change a neural pathway. So if you're meditating for 21 days and every morning between 4 and 6 a.m., just do it for 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can, you'll see a change in your life. You'll see a change in the way you think and more control over your thoughts. And knowing that about 95% of the things that we think are going to happen never happen. And so thinking about them is not really something that really helps. There's two things that happen in your mind. One's thoughts and the other's thinking. They're two different things. Thoughts are nouns. They're passive. We always have them. They're part of us. Thinking's a verb. It's active and it's a choice. The only time we think is when we think about a thought. And when we're in the present moment, think about that. When we're in the present moment, when you're truly in the present moment in meditation, you can't think. You're actually in the zone. And a lot of times, people say, well, I have to think about everything. No, there's a difference between thought and thinking. When you're doing a puzzle with your kids and all of a sudden you pop up and look at your watch, all of a sudden time and space has re-entered the program. But before that, you were in something called situational creativity, where you were just into it. And those are thoughts, pure thoughts coming through. So that's just one of the examples about the difference. Mm-hmm. And when we're trying to meditate, all we're doing is thinking. The thoughts, if you let them come through like puffy clouds, they'll just keep passing through. But when you think about it, you grab one, you can obsess with it. And a lot of times people who do that are like broken records. They keep going over that one thing over and over and over. They just can't break that. And so what we do is we teach them how to do that. The other ways to do it is through tones, sometimes listening to music takes you out of that chatter mind, things that you really like. Well, we call that, that's, tonal energy. bioresonance, and it helps and treats you. So there's a few ways, but there's a couple right there.
And you were talking about the morning is really the best time because your body does do a reset at night. So if you're going to be serious about this and retrain it, morning is usually the best.
It is. And the reason why is because we have our pineal gland has two major functions. It's when the sun comes up, it secretes serotonin, which keeps us awake and going throughout the day. And at night, when the sun goes down, we start to excrete melatonin, which creates, sleep. And so at the end of melatonin cycle, it starts as soon as the sun comes up. So between 4 and 6, anywhere, if you can grab 20 minutes in there sometime to start meditating, that's the best time.
Well, he told me I was in a perpetual sleepwalking state, which makes a lot of sense to a lot of people who know me. And when I was diving, even I was told a couple of times, because it's like herding cats, but I think I was sleep swimming too. I just kind of wander off, and then Eric gets all mad at me and starts trying to get a hold of get my attention, and I'm not listening because he's banging on the tank and all that kind of trying to get him. I'm already gone. I just do my own thing. So that's just me.
Yeah,
I can definitely agree. You are definitely a cool cat, but let's talk a little more about the difference between thinking and thoughts. Okay, because
sure,
I've never thought about it that way before. And when you were talking, I was like, so what's better, thinking or thoughts? And so let's just dig a little deeper on that for those that might be listening to this for the first time. And we got to experience your lectures and stuff a couple of times. So let's talk more about grasping those thoughts and dissecting them. Like, explain that a little deeper for us.
Sure. When an event happens in our life, it's like two arrows come at us. The first one, we can't help. Whatever it's coming, it's hitting us. Those are thoughts. It's going to be part of us. But for us, the second arrow is thinking. It's a choice. We can think about it or not. And I read a book one time not long ago called "Don't Believe Everything You Think." It was by a gentleman named Joseph Wynn. And I wrote a review on it and told him I was doing research. I thought this was really good. And he said that he wanted to talk to me, and we've become good friends ever since then. We have 3-hour conversations about every couple of months, and it just goes on and on about some of the depths that we found. And in his book, he said that thinking is the cause of all human suffering. And I said, we got to get into this because, what you're saying is very profound. And he said, sure, it's really simple. You think about a thought that, is bothering you, and it's going to be that broken record, and it's going to be suffering because you're not educating yourself. You're not doing anything. You're just going in a circle. You're chasing your tail with that thought, with that thinking. And he says, there's nothing we can do about, things that come at us, that first arrow. But the second arrow is a choice. And I thought that was really profound.
So how can we think more positive thoughts?
Right. Well, that's good. First, we got to understand our thinking pattern. We have 60,000 thoughts in a day, and 85% of them are negative, and 95% of them are the same thoughts we had the day before. So we're in a pattern. And of those negative thoughts, only 7% are judgments on other people. The rest of it's judgments on ourselves. And so that, when you constantly do that to yourself day in and day out, it's going to have an effect on who you are, your character, what you manifest in your life and things like that. So that's one of the things that we have to, realize is that, we have so many negative thoughts that we need to start changing that pattern. And there's a new paradigm. And that's why people are turning to different things like cold plunge, meditation, some of them are doing ayahuasca and bufo and things like that, just to get out of that state of that constant, negative thinking.
Yeah. So what would you suggest somebody would do to change that paradigm? Other than, I guess, meditation, cold plunge, like self affirmation, stand in front of the mirror and say positive. Absolutely.
One of the things that we do a lot, you guys are scuba diving. I think that's a meditation. I think we're in the alpha state. We're chilled. You know how you feel, your delta's probably going way up, and you're dive swimming. I mean, you're actually dreaming while you're down there. The other thing is exercise. People go on long runs. That's a meditation as well. You're in the gym, you're in the zone. That's a meditation as well. You've just cleared your mind. And the more you clear your mind and you realize you don't have to think about things because it's not going to do any good, your subconscious knows how to handle it. You've already built character through all the years of all your life, and it knows how to handle it. And the answer, no matter what you think, it's going to happen. It is going to happen. And thinking about it's not going to help. But your thought pattern, what we call the quantum self, the self is when you stop thinking, what's left is this pure intelligence, call it, supermental intelligence. And it comes through and it starts to solve your problems. One of the things we did today was heart math. And when we actually started doing heart-brain coherence, and we're able to paint pictures on the wall and things like that with a software program, that in itself will start to create and slow down thinking patterns that are constantly causing negative thoughts. So a couple of minutes a day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day, just doing that breathing technique along with putting attention to your heart and thinking about really good things and breathing those sentiments in and out of your heart. Your heart actually has more communication with your brain than your brain does your heart. And that it has neurites, the thinking, and we call it the cardiac complex. And that in itself is pretty amazing connection between heart and brain.
So this group of guys are typically entrepreneurs, high achievers. We have this level, we're just high all the time. But talk a little bit, because you mentioned it shortly, but didn't really get into it much. That disruption of trauma in somebody when they experience a significant trauma, and now you're trying to get back into, whether it's meditating or getting back into a state of confidence and relaxation. How does trauma come in, and how does somebody deal with a disruption to their normal rhythms like that?
Sure. One of the things that we learned today was heart math. And whenever you have a trauma, the emotions appear in a part of the brain called the amygdala. And when they appear there, you react to them because they're either a sense, a visual, an auditory, or a feeling. And any one of those things come in can trigger that trauma and start you thinking about it. Okay. And so by doing heart math, and I'll tell you a little story about thought and thinking that happened to me. I was doing 7 days of really intense research in Barcelona last year, and I was at a very busy intersection. It was the 8th day. All that was over. I was going to go to a paella cooking class in Barcelona. I'd never been there before, so I signed up. My wife wasn't with me because I had this big long event, so she stayed home. And as I'm sitting at this busy intersection, a child runs across the street and gets hit by a taxi cab. Now, I was a first responder in LA, and I went to one knee knowing that what was coming was not good. So I took a deep breath, went and did everything I could, but I knew when I walked away was my biggest fear, that I'm going to crumble. And so I said to myself, reading these books and doing this, I said, okay, you're on, man. I said, don't think, just pray. And I kept saying that. And every once in a while I'd say a prayer, from the deepest part of my heart, from, absolute unconditional love for that child. And then I kept saying it. Don't think, just pray. 40 minutes later, when I finally arrived at that paella cooking class, it was all gone. I was good. Absolutely good. So it's one of the things that I did for myself, knowing and believing that I could do this. I had to do it. I didn't have a choice. And knowing that is the power of belief. That I myself said, I'm going to do this. And I did it. And I saved myself from the crumble and the suffering that I would have done if I would have thought about it. So that's a really good example of what you can do when you put your mind to it.
Yeah. A lot of us are fathers as well.
Mm-hmm.
What age do we start talking to our kids about helping them understand think patterns and meditation and that kind of thing?
Beautiful question. Okay. So let's start at the beginning. When we're first born to 2 years old, we're in the delta state. That's deep sleep. So when children are up and walking, their predominant brainwave is sleepwalking. They're in a deep sleep. So, you can see them, you thinking, they're not really engaging with you. You're like looking through you and past you because they're in a higher state of consciousness. We get to the age of 2 years old to 4 years old. We're in the theta state, and theta is magical. And magical, I mean, they believe in the Easter Bunny, and you can't tell them it doesn't exist. Things like that. They see it. And, people who meditate and go into those states, they see it too. It's magical. And so then we get into the alpha. And alpha is the state where, and this is really important to parents, it's when we're downloading everything around us. And the old saying, show me the 7-year-old and I'll show you the man. And the reason why is because they have already downloaded everything in their environment and they've set their character. Okay. And so when we work with, meditation, neurolinguistic program, we're trying to correct any traumas that happened during that time because that's how they react to the world. So during that time, it's a sacred time. It's good to keep them, you can see them put their hands over the ears and stop fighting because they can't say no. They don't have the beta wave. They don't have the filter yet. And only when they're 8 years old and to adulthood do they finally find the filter that, ain't listening to this, I'm out of here. When you watch young ones, they can't leave. They're just like, no, just stop. They don't have the guidance for themselves to get out of there. Really interesting. So yes, the ages, that age, 4 to 7, real important, real important.
See, now what I heard him say is I've got the mind of a 2-year-old because I'm just in that state. Sleepwalking state.
Yeah. So you had mentioned earlier, just a little bit ago about exercising and stuff like that. Did you say that it releases while you're exercising, it's releasing serotonin?
No, and that's when you're sleeping. Serotonin,
Okay.
it actually, when the sun comes up, it starts to rise.
Okay.
And it starts to make you awake.
Okay.
And everything, and all other hormones start to follow its lead and be able to start doing its digestion, doing its, balancing of, your neurohormones. It starts to do all that. And so, yeah, that's what serotonin does. But when you exercise, you get endorphins and enkephalins, things like that, especially when you're pushing really hard. That gives you that euphoric feeling. Yeah. And but it has nothing to do with serotonin.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because I know when I exercise, obviously I start to feel better. And I read somewhere, for cardio, I tend to walk, sometimes indoors, sometimes outside. But I when I can walk outside, I do when I have the time. But I read about 20 minutes into it, most people start to feel like a sense of euphoria. And why is that? Like, is something being released in the brain? Is it just because I think I'm doing something good for my body? Like,
right. Yeah. Dopamine, one of the things that we get that's really satisfying. It's when, you've accomplished something really good. You have that, euphoric feeling, that combined with endorphins and enkephalins have that kind of almost a morphine feel that you break into this, that second wind and you feel good about it. Those are the things that happen. So yeah, neurochemically, those are the things.
Okay. No, that's great. That's good stuff, Mike. You got something else for him?
Yeah, one more. So when I was all hooked up and I was meditating and I started getting lower and lower, pretty sure I started reading Vic's mind. So when does that ESP start kicking in? Because he's a weird dude. I don't know. I didn't mean it. Again, we're going to be talking about this when he's in the presence here, but so when that ESP kicks in and I start reading everybody's minds in the room, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that part.
Oh,
You definitely don't want to get
So how can we convince Vic that it's a good idea to learn how to swim?
Well, let me answer one question at a time.
Okay.
And first, I'm actually really passionate about telepathy. And so one of the things that I was listening to a podcast the other day, and I binge listened to it because it was so amazing. It was called the Telepathy Tapes, and it's about autistic children that University of Virginia has been studying literally all these cases of them saying that children not only can read their mother's mind and see through their eyes and know where they hid the cookies. And the mother says, how could he wasn't even here. And I hid him. I know he doesn't know where they are. And he found them, things like that. And then these are really severe autistic children. And they were finding, and they were doing these tests, and they'd put, mom in this room, and they'd have a film crew, scientist in the other room with a child, and they hold up an Uno card. You could tell you the color. Then they were doing mathematical formulas, on the calculator, and he'd give them the answer, knowing that he could actually see it. And then they were saying, how do you know this person, Adam? And says, oh, I met him on the hill. Adam is another autistic child. Mother has never met, but they've met. And so mom finds the number, calls Adam's mom and says, yes, they meet on the hill. So autistic children actually meet and talk and learn because they say, my teacher doesn't understand me. She thinks I'm dumb because, I have no control of my body. And so I'm always having to, tell her that I'm, in any way they can, that they're listening, that they're, able to do this. They're very gifted. So one of the other things that they were doing was they were giving them these iPads so they could, press the letters and say sentences, and they were getting really good at it. And one of the things the first thing that iPad said to his mom, he was 17. He says, I'm in here. I'm in here. Isn't that amazing? So, these are the kind of things, if you ever get to hear those tapes, you'll binge listen to them. They're absolutely fascinating. They're talking to you about this from the science perspective. Wow. How we can listen to it. It's called the Telepathy Tapes podcast.
Yeah. Wow. So, we're getting ready to do a night dive here, but before we get off here, I guess, before we get off, what is something that you would like to leave our guests or our viewers and watchers with before we get off here?
Yeah. Well, I would say it takes about 21 days to change a habit. Get into some meditation, even if it's, those 20-minute runs, and clear your head. Do it every day for 21 days and watch your and then certainly cherish those quiet moments without the chatter. Read the book. Don't believe everything you think, and see how it changes your life.
Wow. Amazing. Mike, you want to leave us with something?
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Appreciate getting to know you. And I think next time I'm going to have to make sure, because I packed really light, but had I known that I needed a pair of yoga pants, I would have brought yoga pants. But I hear that really helps too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Thank you both. It's been a pleasure. I would actually like to get your contact information if we haven't already.
Sure.
I'd like to do a one-on-one exclusive with you at some point in time, probably in the next month or so. But until then, you guys take care of each other. Thank you for joining us. And next week, we'll have another special guest. I think it's April Hall from SRC. We'll be on the show next week, and that's coming up soon. SRC conference is coming up soon. So until next week, you guys take care of each other, and we'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us.